Rush Limbaugh.
You may not believe me on this, but don't doubt me. They're panicking big time on the left. They are panicking over Pelosi not sending the articles over to the Senate. One of her big witnesses in the Schiff Committee has written a piece claiming he can't even say he's been impeached yet if you don't send those articles over there. And then there are two polls out today that finally reflect what we all know to be true.
From sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
Yes, sir. We're wrapping up yet another barnstorming week of broadcast excellence here on the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. Great to have you with us as always, folks. Telephone number is 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushmo@eibnet.us. One of the star witnesses during the Adam Schiff so-called committee hearing was Noah Feldman. Noah Feldman is a Harvard law professor. He was made up and had his hair made to look like he was a 1930s or 40s film star. He is a rabid and arrogant elitist who literally hates Donald Trump, just despises him, despises Trump so much he can't even tell you why. It's class-related, it's institution-related. I'm sure there are some other personal reasons for it. He was one of the three academics who showed up to offer their enlightened academic opinions of just what a rotten reprobate Donald Trump is. They attempted to explain how he had abused his power, how he had obstructed Congress. They were not persuasive at all, but they are rabid. They are Feldman, all these guys. And look, I'm not comfortable calling people names, but I want to be descriptive. And if you don't remember who I'm talking about, the guy's just very snobbish. He looks down his nose at most everybody who's not in his circle, and none of us are in his view. So I think they're panicking. We've got two polls out there. One's a CNN poll. The other is a YouGov poll. Trump is trouncing Democrats in both of these polls. CNN having an on-air meltdown over it today. They can't figure out why. We'll try to help them understand. Now, the Feldman piece, Trump isn't impeached until the House tells the Senate. His point is that according to the Constitution, impeachment's a process, not a vote. And he's not happy at all with Pelosi delay. See, these people think they've made the case. They think they've made the case that Trump should go, that a trial would be a slam dunk, that Trump would be convicted, he's got to go. There's no other way to see it, in their view. And now he's all worried that Pelosi's blowing this by not sending the articles over. So all the leftist and Democrat analysts on TV today are trying to cover up for it by claiming, no, Pelosi has leverage. Pelosi's got all the leverage. Pelosi doesn't have any leverage. As Mitch McConnell said, I'm going to paraphrase, and this was a great line. McConnell said, how in the world can she have leverage when she won't send us what we don't want? He doesn't want those articles. He'd be very happy if she never sent them over. Just declare a mistrial and be done with it. She has no leverage because she has nothing to say about how the Senate conducts its business in this. She can hold out for what she claims is a fair trial, but a fair trial is something always afforded the accused, not the accusers. But it's not her purview anyway. Once the House voted the articles, the only thing left is for those articles to be presented to the Senate, and then the House is done, other than the trial where the House managers would present the case. But she cannot dictate, for example, that the Senate call new witnesses, that the Senate continue the investigation that the House didn't do. She can't demand any of that. And by withholding the articles, claiming she has leverage, McConnell said, leverage? She's not going to send us something that we don't want in the first place? How in the world has she got leverage? So this has got these people in a panic. They're trying to cover up for this, but no, this is Nancy outsmarting everybody, the leftist commentators. But by the way, It's fascinating. I purposely didn't watch much of the debate last night because, frankly, I'm worn out. I'd reached a point where I can't handle any more of their rhetoric. I can't handle any more of the perfunctory lying through their teeth statements. My mental health, I couldn't put up with it. But people send me their reactions to this stuff all the time, and it's amazing. I got a lot of reaction last night that Biden was an abject disaster. And yet I get up today and I read all the analysts like John Podhoretz think this was Biden's best ever. Biden owned it. Biden was wonderful. Biden finally was the Biden we think he is. So I'm saying, now I'm curious, which is it? I had people sending me stuff saying Biden blew the Winston Churchill question, how old he is, didn't know that Winston Churchill was prime minister of the UK. Had to be reminded that Winston Churchill was not an American. The question had to deal with American presidents in their age. And I get up and I read all these analysts. Oh, Biden. There's 3 or 4 of them. Biden just mopped the floor with people last night. I'm kind of at a disadvantage because I didn't see it. But it's fascinating to me, the reactions that different people have. Obviously, the people that think Biden did well wanted him to do well and are literally hoping that somebody can beat Trump on that side. And they think Biden's probably the only person who can. And so that's why they think Biden, he didn't stumble. He acted like he knew where he was. I mean, the bar is very low for plugs. All he's got to do is act like he knows where he is and what time it is, and it's an improvement over the last debate, right? So anyway, back to Noah Feldman. An indefinite delay would pose a serious problem. Impeachment, as contemplated by the Constitution, does not consist merely of the vote by the House, but of the process of sending the articles to the Senate for trial. Both parts are necessary to make an impeachment under the Constitution. The House must actually send the articles and send managers to the Senate to prosecute the impeachment, and the Senate must actually hold a trial. If the House does not communicate its impeachment to the Senate, it hasn't actually impeached the president. If the articles are not transmitted, Trump could legitimately say that he was not truly impeached at all. Let me tell you something. For Noah Feldman to write that, he is panicking. He doesn't want to have to consider that Trump is innocent of anything in his life. The worst thing that could happen to Noah Feldman is exactly what's happened, for none of this to go forward from this point. I'm telling you, Feldman writing these few sentences here had to be painful. Again, if the House does not communicate its impeachment to the Senate, it hasn't actually impeached the president. If the articles are not transmitted, Trump could legitimately say he wasn't truly impeached. That is the worst of any preliminary outcome. Now, the worst outcome is going to be if he's acquitted. Pelosi knows her articles are nothing. Pelosi knows her articles cannot get votes of acquittal. Pelosi knows she doesn't have a case. She knows Trump would be acquitted. She doesn't want that, so she's withholding the articles. But now her allies and her aides are panicking that this may be the wrong strategical move. Noah Feldman says that's because impeachment under the Constitution means the House sending its approved articles to the Senate, with House managers standing up in the Senate and saying the president is impeached. As for the headlines we saw after the House vote saying Trump impeached, those are a media shorthand, not a technically correct legal statement. So far, the House has voted to impeach, future tense. Trump isn't impeached until the articles go to the Senate and the House members deliver the message. Now, we had a call about this yesterday. I have to admit that I was taken a little bit aback by this when I saw it. We had a call yesterday asking me, Hey, what is Trump really impeached? I said, yeah. The House action is what it is. It's a standard impeachment, two-part process. They voted to impeach him. That's done. Well, it turns out the caller may have been onto something. If Feldman is right, now some other people are chiming in, and say, yep, this is absolutely the case. Some other people chiming in. I said that first, which is normal, but it is clear that none of this is going the way they figured. None of it. Literally none of it, folks. So keep that in mind. Trump hasn't been impeached and won't be until Pelosi lets the managers go over there, present the case. Now, a companion story from Bloomberg. Trump lawyers ask if Pelosi delay means he isn't impeached yet. Pull quote, the White House legal theory, according to a person familiar with the legal review, is that if Trump has been officially impeached, the Senate should already have jurisdiction. Backers of the theory would argue that the clause of the Constitution that gives the Senate the sole power to try all impeachments indicates that the impeachment isn't formalized until the House reported the charges to the upper chamber. So until the Senate has been notified and then is prepared to conduct a trial, the House vote, according to Noah Feldman and the White House lawyers, doesn't mean anything yet. It's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there, did it make a noise? Did it make a sound? If the House votes for impeachment, but they don't take the case into the Senate, is there an impeachment? Apparently the answer is no. So Trump has not been impeached yet. And he won't be. But Pelosi is now saying she's not going to deliver anything over there till January 7th because she sent the House home. There'll be no votes on anything until they get back next year, January 7th. Now, in the midst of all of this, polling data, Washington Examiner, Paul Bedard, President Trump starting to run away with the 2020 election. In the second poll in 2 days to show his advantage, the latest YouGov.economist electability survey found the president leading the top-tier Democrat challengers from 6 to 41 points among registered voters, even amid the he's not impeached yet period. In the survey, 40% said that Biden would probably beat Donald Trump, but 46% said that Biden would probably lose to Trump. Against Crazy Bernie, the margin favored Trump 57 to 31%. In other words, this is not a poll of who you're going to vote for, who do you think. This is a poll of who do you think is going to win. What are the odds such and such will beat somebody else? That's why they call this an electability poll. And it's the second one like it in 2 days. So this, and YouGov is not an outlier bunch. They are widely accepted by the drive-by media as mainstream. So is The Economist. So again, 40% in this poll, 46% say that Biden would lose to Trump, 46 to 40, so it's a 6-point edge for Trump. That Trump would beat Crazy Bernie 57 to 31, that Trump would beat Elizabeth Warren 57 to 27, that's 30 points, and that Trump would trounce Mayor Pete 59 to 18%. Now look at those margins. Now let's stop and look at this for a second. Does this sound sensible? Does these margins, when you hear them, or if you read the piece yourself, does this sound reasonable, believable, or does it sound like, whoa, this is so unlike any other poll I've seen out there? I don't know if I should believe this. See, to me, this is the first poll to come along that makes any sense whatsoever. The Democrats are not making a case to the majority of this country to reelect them or elect them. They're not even close to it. The amount of pro-Trump energy out there is expanding and it's growing. And even the polls that the mainstream media sites show this. that Trump is gaining support during impeachment. The Democrats are losing it. This makes total sense. Mayor Pete really living an illusion that Mayor Pete's going to be elected president? There's no way that's going to happen. And there's no way Elizabeth Warren's going to be elected president. And it's nothing but media mythology to believe that these kind of things are as close as they are. Now let's go to CNN. Audio soundbite number 5. Same thing happening in a CNN poll. This morning on CNN New Day. And this is the senior politics writer, Harry Enton.
Back in October, Biden was up by 10, so his lead has been cut in half. Bernie Sanders was up by 9. His lead has been cut more than in half. And Warren was up 8, and now she's only up 1. And Buttigieg was up 6, and now he is down 1. This is massive movement towards the president of the United States, at least in our poll at this particular point.
They are in horror over in CNN land because their poll is showing massive swing toward Trump in head-to-head polls with Democrats. Here's part 2 of the soundbite.
76% of the country say we have good economic conditions. Just 22% say we have poor. That is, in fact, the best numbers that we've had since the beginning of not just this past decade, but the last decade. So take a look at his favorability ratings. Now his favorable rating, 46%. So the president is becoming more popular, in part, I believe, because of the strong, what people view as a strong economy.
Right. That's only part of it. The president's becoming stronger because people are reacting horribly negatively to what your pals in the Democrat Party are doing, Mr. Enton. So after he mentioned all this, little Allison Camerata said, gee, can you explain this? Why is this happening? They're clueless. They live in a world where every day they are destroying Donald Trump. And they think since Pelosi impeached him that he's just about dead now. Just a matter of time. They have thought this for 3 years. It backfires on them each and every time. Got to take a break. Hang on. There's much more along these lines, and we get to it when we get back.
Rush Limbaugh, bringing America the truth on the EIB network.
Rush Limbaugh.
So here's the bottom line. At the moment, registered voters don't think any of the Democrat frontrunners are going to beat Donald Trump. This, according to the YouGov Economist poll, the CNN poll is trending the same direction. Now, there are reasons why I think this poll, this electability poll showing Trump winning with such wide margins is true. And I can't make the case in the closing moments of this segment, but I'm going to when we get back. You look at the debate last night with Elizabeth Warren's a classic illustration of what's wrong with the Democrat Party, but it's not just that, because she articulated things that they always say. They do not adjust for relevant circumstances in America at any time. They just continue to paint this country as dark and doomed. It is the way they have always sought to relate to a majority of Americans and get them on their side, to portray America as dark and gloomy and dismal, and most people have no hope. Most people have no prayer. Most people, the deck is stacked against them. It's the stupidest thing in the world to say during this particular time, with economic unemployment at a historic low, 3.5%, African-American unemployment at an historic low. And the other way, to the positive look at it, African-American employment, Hispanic employment at all-time highs. Stock market through the roof. Most people's 401ks or other instruments are invested in the stock market. They're doing well because of it. And here come the Democrats continuing to portray this country as a nation in decline, where most people have no chance, no prayer because of evil Republicans. And it's not selling, thankfully.
We now take you behind the scenes at Hillary for President. Late at night, the hotline rings through to Chappaqua. Let's listen in.
Hillary for President. What's the problem now?
It was that.
Oh, hi, Kaz.
Can you believe I got to trial?
Yeah, I heard you got to go to trial.
But it's consensual.
Oh, it was consensual. Well, I like your approach, but you need to use something stronger to make it more consensual. Me, I'm a lip biter myself. Harder for them to tell on you afterwards.
Well, we gotta pay the lawyer.
Yeah, trials are expensive.
Cause you get the gig.
Sure, I can get you a speaking gig if you don't mind performing for a Chinese businessman who speaks no English.
But that's understand me.
He doesn't have to understand you, but you'll get paid, and then I want you to contribute half of the money to our charity foundation as a finder's fee.
But why half?
Because it will help rehabilitate your image. And after they started sniffing around Terry McAuliffe, we can't take any chances.
But half?
Yeah, you're right. Make it 90%. You need a lot of help with your image.
Join us next time our microphones take you behind the scenes at Hillary for President. Can a renegade sailor who's fed up with the way things are and a captain who's lost touch with reality both be the same man? Find out in the McCain Mutiny.
I'm not paranoid, but everybody thinks I am. Aha. What are you men whispering about? It's my legendary temper, isn't it? Isn't it?
No, sir. We're just wondering where we're going.
We're going to change the status quo. Meaningful campaign.
Aye, sir. But banning soft money is unconstitutional.
And that's why I'm taking it all the way to the Supreme Court.
But you'll lose.
You're catching on, kid. Hold your course. Left, 360. And best of all, the media will make me a hero. Again. Damn the Republicans. Full speed ahead.
The McCain Mutiny, starring Senator John McCain, the talented, versatile actor-director who brought you Citizen McCain, McCain's Navy, and the unforgettable Western classic, The Keating Five.
I don't need your money. Gee, Thanks anyhow.
The McCain Mutiny. Coming soon to a primary near you. And now, a sad story of hard times from Sharpton and Jackson.
The Justice Brothers.
Times are hard out there. We know from experience.
Recently, my Escalade rental was stripped. Rims, radio, and reclining bucket seats.
And while everybody's talking about a double dip, we got a triple scoop recession at the National Action Network.
We both need a stimulus now more than ever.
And a payroll tax holiday.
Payroll tax holiday.
Yeah, retroactive to the second quarter of 1998.
But no matter how bad it gets, we both have each other to lean on.
That's what being a Justice Brother is all about. I help you, and you help me.
That's right.
You want to buy a raffle ticket?
Well, let me see.
Oh, you don't want to look at that.
First prize, dinner with Al Sharpton, he pays. Second prize, dinner with Al Sharpton, you pay. Third prize, selected auto parts. Hey, wait a minute. Those are my rims. Come back here, you hustler. You just think these are bad times. I'm gonna give you a really bad time.
I didn't know it was from your escapade. Times are hard.
Love and togetherness through thick and thin. Sharpton and Jackson, the Justice Brothers.
Rush Limbaugh.
Open Line Friday. El Rushbo here, having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have because I get to do what I was born to do each and every day. So to summarize, in the Economist YouGov poll, Trump leads Biden by 6, Sanders by 26, Elizabeth Warren by 30, Pete Buttigieg by 41. This is not a preference poll. It's an electability poll. It's voters, registered voters being asked, okay, in this matchup, who wins? That matchup, who wins? It's not a who are you going to vote for? Who do you want to vote for? Who do you want to see win? It's what do people think? And these margins, as I've said, make sense to me because the Democrats are offering nothing. We live in undeniably economically prosperous times. We have, in fact, there's a slogan that has long been a slogan desired to be true by every politician, every president since the beginning of time, and that is peace and prosperity. Donald Trump is the first American president in our lifetimes who has not started a war. He's inherited some, and he may have expanded our involvement. He's not started one. Wars are started for economic reasons, in part. They are started for legitimate strategic reasons, but he's the first one who hasn't. At the same time, we have an economy that many people alive have never experienced before, and as I have made clear, 8 years prior to Trump's 3 years, the American people were hearing things like this were never going to happen again, that they were not possible, that this kind of prosperity, employment, job opportunity, none of this was possible. The Democrat Party, that was their message as they were leading the country. Now, they do this for a host of reasons. They want people depressed and dispirited. They want people thinking they can't get anywhere on their own. They want people to be victims. They want people to believe that there are invisible, mysterious forces keeping them down, making it impossible for them to advance in life. And guess what? It just so happens that most of these invisible, powerful forces can be linked to Republicans, say the Democrats. Now, I've been a conservative all of my life. I was born one. I grew up as one. I did not have to be taught. I did not have to have it ingrained in me. I just naturally am and was. And as I grew older, I learned why I thought what I thought. I learned how to explain what I thought, and I learned how to persuade other people. I've had repeated attempts made to try to talk me out of it, and they've all failed. As such, I've grown up believing that the answer to reconstituting America as founded always resided in conservatism. Conservative ideology, conservative policies, conservative values, conservative language, conservative morality. And there have always been, my entire life, there have always been noted, learned, conservative intellectuals and others who set themselves up as powerful and influential enough to make it all happen. And it took me a while to realize that every damn one of them was asking for donations in order to do what they do. And it took me a while to figure out that conservatives don't run around asking people for money. And yet, all of these leading conservatives, conservative organizations, conservative individuals were thriving and surviving off of donors, just like everybody else in Washington. Donations, cruises, fundraisers. I've never asked anybody for a dime in my life. I never would. I could. It goes against my very makeup. And then if you add conservative principles to it, conservatives believe in self-reliance. They believe in self-advancement, rugged individualism, all of that. So we've had, over the course of my lifetime, one legitimate conservative individual that got elected and indeed did great things. That was Ronaldus Magnus. Outside of that, we haven't had any. Yet all this time, we've had numerous conservative institutions, whatever you want to call them, think tanks, what have you. And by the way, full disclosure, when I first started this program 31 years ago, I made sure when I started to thank them. You know, I'm a new kid on the block. These people never heard of me. In my view, they had been toiling in the basement, figuratively, working in obscurity and in anonymity, developing conservative theory and philosophy. And here comes some kid out of California that didn't even go to college, and all of a sudden is becoming this widely famous and well-known conservative who's articulating it all. And I don't have the pedigree these people have. So initially, they looked at me very warily. They eyed me suspiciously. So I made it a point to thank them all for their contributions to my understanding. And then the requests started coming to help them raise money, and I did. I thought that was what was necessary. The short version of this story is that after and before Ronald Reagan, we've had nobody from the quote-unquote movement that ever got elected, despite all of this influence, despite all this fundraising, and yet we now have Donald Trump, who is doing more for conservatism, and he isn't one, than any conservative prior to him, with the exception of Ronaldus Magnus. And Donald Trump's not asked anybody for a dime, and he doesn't, well, campaign contributions, but even in 2016, there wasn't much fundraising. He was self-funded. The fundraising didn't start till he won, and he set up the inauguration and transition and this kind of stuff. And there were some donations, obviously, but it was not the usual fare. My point is that not only are the Democrats in shell shock over what's happened, that so is the entire Republican establishment. Because some guy has come out of nowhere. Well, I mean, they knew who he was. He was a television star. He's a construction guy. Nobody ever took him seriously as anything other than a page 6 celebrity who built buildings. And now what is he? He's running rings around the entire Washington political establishment. We have economic circumstances that we were told 11 years ago and 7 years ago that were not possible to attain anymore. We were told America's shining days were behind us. We were also told that some of those great days were not legitimate because America is unjust, socially unjust, economically unfair, maybe a tinge racist still, and all of that. So we were told as a population to temper our expectations economically. The Democrats like people thinking they have no control over their own lives. Then those people are more than willing to turn over such control to Democrats. So the Democrats try to make victims out of many people as they can, as many, and they do their best to convince people that there's no hope. And last night's Democrat debate was just filled with this. Now, in times where our economy has been floundering and unemployment has been high, people losing their jobs, people being laid off, factories closing, that kind of rhetoric resonates. But it's not resonating now. People are listening to it like some kind of foreign language. I don't deny that there are people at various degrees of misfortune in the country. That's going to always be the case. But the Democrats want you to believe that the entire country is a deep, dark, desolate place because of Republicans. And as long as there are Republicans, people have no future. Well, it is just the exact opposite. So the Democrats keep harping on all this negativism, pessimism, defeatism. And while they're doing that, they're trying to destroy the guy 63 million Americans elected, and probably many millions more are going to vote for again. And their line just isn't resonating with people right now. And it's not hard to understand why. So the margin these polls make perfect sense to me, folks. The margin in this YouGov electability poll, with Trump beating Biden by 6, Crazy Bernie by 26, Elizabeth Warren by 30, Mayor Pete, come on, by 41. I can believe them. The Democrat Party offers nothing. They're not even offering any hope. The only hope they're offering is if you elect them. They don't believe people have the ability to rise up. They don't believe people have the ability to live their own lives productively, to manage them. That's part and parcel of liberalism and socialism. And the Democrats have that wrapped down pat. But it's just not going to resonate in times like this, where we have record low unemployment, record high wage advances and increase, record high per capita income, record high job opportunity. Jobs coming back that the previous Democrat president assured us could not come back. And that's just half of it. Now we've got a makeover of the federal judiciary underway because of Donald Trump. We have a reworking of trade deals that put the American people at a great disadvantage being reworked. And I find it's just fascinating, and it's all being done by a guy who never ran around once calling himself a conservative. Still doesn't. Anyway, I've taken a break. We will do that and be back and resume right after this.
Somebody has to have the guts to say it. Rush on the EIB network.
Rush Limbaugh.
Fastest week in media, Rush Limbaugh hosting Open Line Friday. As we wrap up a really productive, really meaningful, and rapidly concluding Open Line Friday. Let's start. It's Open Line Friday. Always try to get started on the phones in the first hour. This is Larry in Pine River, Wisconsin. You're first, and it's great to have you, Larry. Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
It's a real pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. I can understand. Yes.
I have a question for you.
What is it?
I just heard on the news that Putin came out in defense of Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump doesn't need Putin.
Would you actually characterize it as Putin came out in defense of Trump? What did Putin say?
Well, according to the news, he was defending the fact that this impeachment was, not a good thing.
Right. He didn't defend Trump. He went out and attacked Congress. I laughed my ass off, Larry. I laughed my ass off when Putin. He's goosing them. He's driving them crazy. He's keeping them believing that Trump and Putin are buddies and are sabotaging the Democrats. I think it was hilarious. This is on a par of Trump asking Putin to find Hillary's emails. Here's Putin ripping the U.S. Congress for not having the slightest idea what they're doing, making a big mistake. He can't believe how stupid they are. This is fantastic. He's goosing them, Larry. He's jabbing them out there.
Was the fact that he's doing this simply because he wants to set up Donald Trump in the media and on the left to give them a reason to say, see, I told you, he's out there doing it.
Oh, maybe. What Putin wants to do is exactly what he's doing, thanks to the Democrats falling for it all. The Democrats want you to believe that Putin wanted Hillary to win. And so Trump and Putin are buddies, and they colluded, and they found a way to make it happen. Well, that's not what Putin can't control who wins. All he wants is the United States in a state of disarray. He wants the United States focusing on internal battles, paying less attention to him. In truth, Donald Trump may be the worst thing that ever happened to Vladimir Putin. Trump is by no means a Russian ally or a Trump ally. So there could be an element of this. Putin trying to keep the Democrats going after Trump alive by claiming they're doing it the wrong way, claiming they're making a mistake. But if that's true, then all Putin is doing is simply trying to further their belief that Russia and Trump are buddies and are colluding. Now, the Democrats are in such a state of delusion. And folks, they really are. They are as delusional as I have ever seen a political party. Now, don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that they're not dangerous or that they're a joke. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they are so absent and distant from reality here that Putin coming out and chastising them for doing it the wrong way, it could be that Putin wants to further the idea that he's on Trump's side, which could then keep the Democrats further engaged and enraged in their effort to get Trump. But if that's his plan, he's just going to make them look crazier. They don't understand yet how they have come off in all of this to the vast majority of the American people. So frankly, I haven't seen that much reaction to Putin anyway. It's been kind of muted. There hasn't been, stop everything, breaking news, Vladimir Putin criticizes Pelosi and her impeachment. I haven't seen that yet. We'll have to keep a sharp eye. I don't think it registered much, except it did with me from the standpoint of being very entertaining.
Rush Limbaugh, simply fascinating on the EIB network.
Rush Limbaugh.
We are approaching the top of the hour break. And when we get back, there were some entertaining moments. Hard as it is to believe and imagine, there were some entertaining moments last night in the Democrat debate, which was actually an exercise in complete and total futility, given their objectives here. But we'll share some of those fun times when we get back.
Happier holidays from the former beloved mayor of New York, Mike Bloomberg.
Yes, just call me Michael Bloomberg. Thank you. Recently, I spent over $50 million for ads to ask for your vote in the Democratic primary. However, since it's the holiday season, I've decided to reach out and help make you personally merry by exchanging gifts with you. For every vote you sign over to me now, I'll give you $10,000. Together, we can change politics forever and spread the joy this special time of year. Please hurry. This offer is limited to the first 60 million people who are willing to help me, Michael Bloomberg, quickly secure the nomination.
Accepting this $10,000 gift creates a binding, unalterable contract requiring you to drink no more than 6.5 ounces of soda a day. Give up any Second Amendment rights you may or may not have, and clap enthusiastically whenever Mr. Bloomberg is within 1,000 feet of you.
That's right. And failure to fulfill your responsibilities will make my holiday gift to you retroactive, with interest.
Make your holidays merry and your hands soar with a $10,000 gift from America's favorite soda jerk, Mike Bloomberg.
That's Michael. Now clap and don't stop till I say so.
Yes, sir. Want to stop Donald Trump and be a hero to everyone in the Never Trump and progressive movement? Then why not become a whistleblower? By telling Congress everything you think you heard or sort of knew about Donald Trump. Until recently, a government whistleblower was required to have direct first-hand knowledge of any alleged misdeed. But since we couldn't get the goods on Donald in 3 years, we have to expand the universe of available dirt. Now, any rumor about Trump you've heard at work, in line at the liquor store, on Twitter, the internet, even from a friend of a friend who knows a guy, it's fair game. Just ask Nancy Pelosi.
America, it is your civil duty to help us win the White House from Trump and the Russians in 2020 by becoming a whistleblower. Heaven knows we can't get there any other way. That Joe, such a lunch buckethead.
Be the envy of all your friends and fellow travelers. Become a whistleblower today. Caution, mainstream media sources of information may be a little too out there to be considered credible.
See the clouds, rain is pelting. At the poles, snow is melting. A horrible sight, replace all your lights in a global warming wonderland. Gone away is the winter, now you'll burn in December. But I'll sit in the shade and drink lemonade in a global warming wonderland. In the summer when you're on vacation, that's when all the trees are parched and brown. See, my Nobel Prize bill didn't even get an honorable mention. I can't wait to show it off when he's in town. Maybe I will be knighted. See my new Lexus Hybrid. Oh, I've got it made if you're all afraid. In a global warming wonderland. In a global warming wonderland.
Lucky Butts means fine tobacco.
LBMFT.
In today's world, it's getting tougher and tougher to enjoy lighting up.
Hey, this is the smoke-free complex.
Don't let the anti-smoking Nazis bother you ever again.
You'll have to put that out.
Try new Lucky Butts tobacco suppositories.
But this is my apartment. How did you get in here? I live in your closet.
Each pack comes complete with its own handy applicator.
They'll never look here.
Discreet and private. Enjoy the full flavor and aroma at work or at play.
So, Bob, aren't you going outside to light up with the rest of the lepers?
Sit on your cravings with Lucky Butts tobacco suppositories.
No, I think I'll just sit right here and enjoy myself.
In full flavored original, 100s are refreshing menthol. Whichever ones you choose, you are sure to say,
LBMFT.
Lucky Butts means fine tobacco. Now a message of complete safety from the people who banned children's competitive soccer, dodgeball, and required helmets for all tricycle riders under 18. The Keep Our Own Kids Safe Action Coalition.
Hi. Today I'm proud to announce that the Keep Our Own Kids Safe Action Coalition, together with the Los Angeles County government, has once again codified safety into law by banning the dangerous use of frisbees and footballs on our pristine beaches. Dave here, a long-term beach frisbee enthusiast, has great difficulty finding employment and living an independent life apart from his parents. The human toll of an innocent-looking frisbee cannot be underestimated.
It's not the frisbee, man. It's all that weed I smoked. You're not going to take away my medicine, are you?
Of course not.
Cool. I'll just toss starfish with my friends. Hey, guys! Catch
Please,
this!
no, I don't think that's very safe.
The Keep Our Own Kids Safe Action Coalition, protecting all of us from ourselves.
Rush Limbaugh.
We keep soundbites 15A and 16 standing by as well. Got that? Okay, cool. And here we are, folks, back at it. Open Line Friday, Rush Limbaugh kicking off hour number 2.
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
And just to restate, Open Line Friday is open to anybody who wants to talk about anything. It doesn't have to be about the league. News items today, yesterday, all week. Could be anything you want to talk about. It's about the NFL. If you want to talk about whatever, just pick a topic. If you're tired of all this and want to talk about something else, that's what today is for. Telephone number 800-282-2882. The email address lrushbo@eivnet.us. Now, in the previous half hour, I went into a brief little monologue on how the Democrat Party sees America as a cold, dark, dank, gloomy place. It is their natural, by the way, view. That's how they see life. That's how they see people. It's dismal. It is depressing. It's dark. You never get any optimism out of these people. You never get any happiness, laughter, potential, upside, none of that. It's always doom and gloom. And it's typified of climate change. What do? We're destroying the planet. We're destroying the habitat. And then we're destroying this or that for animals. And we're destroying this for the transgender community. We're destroying that. It's just a constant pummeling. And it was on full display last night in the Democrat Party's so-called presidential debate, which I believe was an exercise in utter futility. I don't think the Democrats have, because they are living in a perpetual delusion that is worsening. I don't believe they have the slightest idea what they are headed for in 2020. I really don't. I think they are lying to themselves continually. And I think they're telling themselves that they're going to win and win big, and it's going to be a landslide, whoever the nominee is, and then they're going to put Donald Trump in jail. And then maybe even get the death penalty if they leave it up to some. Here's an example. Last night, Bernie Sanders promised to criminally prosecute fossil fuel executives for destroying the planet. And he said it on Twitter. He said that if he wins, he will pass a Green New Deal and criminally prosecute the fossil fuel executives who destroyed, not are destroying, but who have destroyed the planet. Now, folks, that is insane. It is the clinical definition of insane. This is not just politics as usual. It is insane. It is unrealistic. And the frightening thing is that there are some in the Democrat Party who believe it and eat it all up and applaud it. Why is it insane? Because there's virtually no chance of this happening. There is no chance that Bernie Sanders would criminally prosecute fossil fuel executives for destroying the planet. You know why? No laws are being broken. In fact, it is the energy and natural gas sector, which is one of the leading elements propelling the growth of the economy and creating new jobs and bringing down the cost of living. And the people that run fossil fuel companies like ExxonMobil, you name, they're not breaking any laws. Even if he wanted to rewrite laws to make emissions, any emissions, criminally illegal, he still couldn't do that because he's not the authoritarian that he portrays himself as being. But he would try. I have no doubt that he would try to some extent. And I don't doubt for a minute that he's serious, that this is insane. We need to call this stuff for what it is. Rush, don't call it insane. You're just going to scare people off. People are not going to believe it's insane. It's like calling somebody a communist. Well, they've been communists all these years, and we were told not to call them that. Now they're calling themselves that. I'm telling you, these people are insane, according to a couple different definitions of the word. He's a socialist. He's a proud socialist. ExxonMobil has published a report predicting no reductions in carbon dioxide emissions from the energy sector through 2040. Did you hear what Biden said? Let me find what Plug said. Biden said that he would literally preside over the loss of 200,000 jobs if it meant getting even with the fossil fuel industry. Hell, it's not 200,000. Biden said that he would favor the policies that would eliminate millions of blue-collar jobs for the Green New Deal. Joe Biden proudly said last night that he's willing to blow up millions of jobs to satisfy the extreme left who now run the Democrat Party. Let's go to the audio sound bites of this debacle last night. We're going to start with Pocahontas. Pocahontas, I'm sure she's been laying in wait all night for Mayor Pete. Let me tell you what Mayor Pete did earlier this week. Mayor Pete went to a Silicon Valley executives fundraiser. The fundraiser was held by, I think, the family that owns the Rutherford Winery in Napa. Now, many wineries have underground caves where the wine is stored so that it can age at the proper temperature and proper humidity. It's much cheaper to put it underground than to hire a bunch of refrigeration equipment they have to maintain at the proper temperature. They dig these caves, and they put the wine in there, and they deck these caves out. They'll throw parties in there and dinners and so forth, and that's what happened. They had this gigantic fundraiser for Mayor Pete, and there were photos of it, and it was the finest flatware you've ever seen, the finest silverware you've ever seen, the finest glassware, the finest tablecloths you've ever seen. It was the epitome of the Gilded Age epitome. Now, Mayor Pete is a left-wing socialist Democrat, doesn't believe in palling around with the rich. The rich are the problem as far as Mayor Pete is concerned, because that's what all Democrats want you to think they believe. The truth of the matter is, the modern-day Democrat Party is the party of this kind of wealth. It is this kind of wealth that has been underwriting the Democrat Party for years, including that kind of wealth on Wall Street. Well, Pocahontas saw the pictures. Not of the party. The pictures were of the tables, the long banquet tables where all the donors would show up and eat the finest foods and drink the finest wines and listen to the finest speech by Mayor Pete. I saw some people on TV that, well, what's a wine cave? I never heard of a wine cave. Well, that's why I just took the time to explain to you what a wine cave is. And they're common among wine vintners. It's a common thing to keep their product stored properly. It's much cheaper than refrigeration. So anyway, Pocahontas thinks she's got Mayor Pete set up for the kill because he went to this thing. She thinks she's going to take him out in the debate last night because he went to the wine cave. Here's how she started the process.
The mayor just recently had a fundraiser that was held in a wine cave full of crystals and served $900 a bottle wine. Think about who comes to that. He had promised that every fundraiser he would do would be open door, but this one was closed door. We made the decision many years ago that rich people in smoke-filled rooms would not pick the next president of the United States. Billionaires in wine caves should not pick the next president of the United States.
Now, obviously, this is as phony as you can get because this is the Democrat Party. Who are these vintners? They're Democrats. Napa Valley, the vast majority of it, there's some exceptions, but they're all liberal Democrats. I can give you some wine labels who are not, but I don't want to open any worms. But this is the Democrat Party of today. This is the big secret. They are the party of wealth, and they hide it. That's why the fundraiser was in a cave and not some rich guy's mansion or estate. Well, Mayor Pete was waiting for this. Mayor Pete was ready for it. And this is how Mayor Pete retorted.
According to Forbes magazine, I am literally the only person on this stage who's not a millionaire or a billionaire. So if this is important, this is the problem with issuing purity tests you cannot yourself pass. If I pledge never to be in the company of a progressive Democratic donor, I couldn't be up here. Senator, your net worth is 100 times mine.
And the audience continued to war whoop and believe and act like Mayor Pete had destroyed her. And most of the commentators, analysts, suggested Warren did step in it big time, that Mayor Pete, he was ready for this and he knocked it out of the park. I don't think there's a winner or loser. Maybe within the Democrat view of things, maybe Mayor Pete did parry this off pretty well. But they're both a bunch of phonies is the whole thing about it. They tried to make it look like this is not a part of their friendship sphere. It's not a part of their daily existence. And it is. And if Pocahontas is being hypocritical, she went on to say, well, I'm just going to tell you, people can donate to me all they want. They can give millions, but that doesn't mean they're going to be an ambassador. That's not going to happen with me. And Mayor Pete kind of blew that out of the water, too. So Elizabeth Warren is constantly trying to make people believe she's somebody she's not, either an Indian or a middle-class pauper or a woman that's never done anything in capitalism, has always been a good socialist. Classic phony. Classic misdirection phony. But look at what their debates are about. They're debates about who's rich and who isn't, who's legitimately rich and who's not. As though any of this has anything to say about who they are and what their policies end up being. You just had Barack Obama end up buying a $15 million house on Martha's Vineyard. Yet his whole career has been built on trashing people that do that, with a wink and a nod at all the Democrat donors who give him enough money that he can afford a house like that, because that's the game. The game is to make it look like the rich are exclusively mean-spirited Republicans. The Democrat Party has more wealthy people in the Senate and in the House of Representatives than the Republican Party does today. Not even close. Quick timeout. Back. We'll get back to your phone calls here in a minute. Stay with
This
us.
Christmas, treat yourself and your friends to gift memberships to Rush 24/7, America's most reliable play-by-play of the news. With the 2020 elections about to go full throttle, you won't want to miss one word of broadcast excellence. Sign up now at rushlimbaugh.com. You're listening to the EIB Network.
Rush Limbaugh.
I forgot to emphasize what has Crazy Bernie so irritated here when he promised to criminally prosecute fossil fuel executives for destroying the planet. ExxonMobil published the report predicting no reductions in carbon dioxide emissions from the energy sector through 2040. That's what blew them all up. That's what sent them over the edge. And ExxonMobil also said in its report that there will be no date, there will be no time at which emissions reach net zero. And so the entire radical left, from Greta Thunberg on down or up, depending on how you look at it, is enraged. And so that's why Crazy Bernie believes this is destroying the planet. ExxonMobil is just being factually honest. Does ExxonMobil, do you think the CEO and the executives and everybody who works at ExxonMobil, do you think that they intend to destroy the planet and still somehow be alive and have their company up and running and doing everything they do now? This stuff is so asinine and obscene. And these Democrat predictions are common. All of these extreme, over-the-top, radical predictions. Destroy the planet, 12 years, 10 years, 15 years, destroying the habitat, all of that. None of that is going to happen. It's not possible. We can't do it by virtue of our current lifestyle. These people are trying to say that progress, technology, innovation is destroying things. It's all insane. It's all absurd. And all ExxonMobil's doing is admitting the truth here. But these people have a political agenda, and it requires that people believe these extreme lies. And with ExxonMobil not playing along, why, they just become an even bigger enemy. But the problem for them is they're not breaking any laws. Not even close. Back to the phones, Leona Valley, California. Carl, great that you called. Nice to have you, sir. Hello.
Hello, Rush. I'll get right to the point. I've isolated three problems that our president has given the Democrats long term, and I'd like to know if you could tell me which one you think is most problematic. One is what he's doing with the courts, the judges. The second would be he's breaking up the lock the Democrats have had on the minorities for all these decades. And third, he's exposing the mainstream media because he's fighting back, and it's obvious that they're lying most of the time.
So, and you want to know from me which of those three I think are hurting the Democrats the most?
Correct, yes.
Well, this is kind of a chicken or egg question, because I would say that I think the number one agent in creating and doing damage to the Democrat Party is the Democrat Party. But then you would have to say, well, how do people know this? There you throw the media in, and Trump. Trump is pointing it out. Trump is calling them out. Trump is helping to illustrate it. In the process, they even go more and more radical. As they fail to convince people, they get more drastic and extreme in their effort. And what it all adds up to is that they know that they're failing. This is what's got Pelosi all. They're failing. They're racking up failure after failure after failure. They can't accept it. They can't believe it. The African American vote, if these polls that exist now that show Trump's approval rating among African Americans is 34, 35%. And there's three different polls that show this. If that is true, just in terms of elections, if the Democrats were to seriously lose 10 to 15% of the African American vote, it would be close to a death knell. So it would be tough to pick any particular one. I'd say throw them all in just the one big package called Trump. I think Trump himself is the agent of destruction here for all of the reasons that I have mentioned over the course of these past 3 years. Back in just a sec.
And now, Andy Griffith for Obamacare.
1965. A lot of good things came out that year, like Medicare. And now we got us Obamacare. And this year, just like always, you're going to have your guaranteed benefits right up until the time you get sick. So all you old angry white folks out there joining the tea parties and protesting and all, just calm down and be a good cracker. Good cracker. Tell them the new rules, Barney. Well, you see, it's like this. Here in Washington, everybody has to play by the rules. And we've developed a rule book just for you there at home. 62,528 new rules to help you through the process of healthcare in an orderly, organized fashion. Rule number 1. There are no peanut butter and jelly sandwiches allowed in any hospital day or night, 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Rule number 2. If any named insured of a qualified plan gets sick, he or she must fill out request form 24/7.
For more information on Obamacare and how it affects those 65 and older, just get sick and you'll find out. And now we take you behind the scenes as President Obama prepares for The Tonight Show.
All right, Mr. President, I have a list of questions Jay will be asking you. One of them is a really easy one about your bowling game. And if you have improved since the primaries, we think you should make a joke here and say
I know, that now I bowl like a Alzheimer's patient.
That's a bit strong, sir. Why don't you save it for Letterman?
What about this? I am now bowling like one of Jerry's kids.
Sir, people will be offended with that one.
But everybody loves Jerry's kids.
Well, yes, sir, but
this is it. This is it. I now bowl like I am in the Special Olympics. That's it.
I need to talk this over with David Axelrod. I'll be right back.
Special Olympics. Yeah, that's my favorite one. Thanks, teleprompter. I couldn't be president without you.
No problem, Mr. President. Join us next time when we go behind the scenes with President Obama and his friend, the teleprompter. New from Capitol Records, Fritz Hollings.
There's corruption everywhere out there.
And James Carville.
That's right. Corruption at the highest level.
Too much corrupting going on out there.
Dueling Bozos.
We all know what's causing it.
Hollings and Carville together for the first time.
So much corrupting going on out there, and it's even corrupted me.
Singing the only tune they know.
Yeah, everybody's guilty. I mean, come on.
Nothing we can do about it no matter where we go. We go to breakfast, we go to Wednesday afternoon square dances.
We need to change the law.
I never even knew the word exacerbate until I came to Washington. I went down to that barbecue.
Wasn't that in the Star Report?
Why was LBJ here? Who the hell cares anymore anyway? All I know is that it was corrupt then and it's exacerbating now.
Yeah, all they're out there doing is talking about Buddhist monks.
They found this woman guilty. Guilty of what?
So what are you doing about it?
Well, what am I doing? I'm trying to pass a constitutional amendment to make sure that nobody give any money to politicians.
Especially politicians that fly the Confederate flag.
I flew that flag. I flew it proudly.
That
as far as I'm concerned, George Bush is the one who's got to explain it. That's how out of whack it is. It's so corrupt, so exacerbating that a breach truck had to bring in a pork flowing barbecue with a bunch of contributors nobody ain't ever met. Until we get going, day after day, nothing is going to get
Dueling Bozos. Available wherever this record is sold.
This is not a traditional Christmas tune, but it's one of Mannheim Steamroller, one of my favorite Mannheim Steamroller tunes called Pat-a-Pan. Can't go wrong if you're into Christmas music. If you just like to sit around and listen to it. Mannheim Steamroller with varieties. Their own creations, some traditional stuff. It's all great. So looky here, right along the lines of one of my big points today, but the Democrat Party and how they see America, especially today, as a cold, dark, dank place, no hope, no opportunity. I mean, they're all over this debate stage last night. Elizabeth Warren, I am proud to stand on a stage with people who understand that the only people benefiting from this growth are the wealthy and the rich and so forth. And it's just, I think Trump is doing so many magnificent things. It's hard to literally categorize them all or list them all. The Democrat Party has not changed its rhetoric. They can't. Trump has created economic circumstances unlike those for many Americans ever in their lifetimes. And in the process, the Democrat Party's being who they are, and they are exposing themselves and their crazy thinking, their negative outlook on things, their dismal, dark look, and it's there for everybody to see without having to be told. It's just staring everybody in the face. And not only is it not true, it isn't infectious. You have people doing well. Their jobs have come back. Their savings accounts are up. Their 401ks are up. Job opportunities are plentiful. And then you turn on, you listen to the Democrats, and they paint a picture of a country that doesn't exist. And furthermore, you don't want to exist. And that's where they're really doing themselves in. The kind of things they are trying to sell to get votes and get support are things no American wants to be part of. You don't want to join a movement of darkness. You don't want to join a movement of pessimism and defeatism unless you already are pessimistic and defeated. And the odds are, if you're a regular Democrat voter, that pretty much might sum you up. And I don't want anybody to misunderstand. I'm not a Pollyanna here. I'm not saying that there aren't people in trouble, that there aren't people suffering, there aren't people in various stages of misfortune. It's the case, law of averages. It's going to happen no matter what overall circumstances are. But then the question becomes, what do you do about it? And the Democrats' sole solution is to blame people for it, blame Republicans for it. Whereas our solution is to fix it. Is to find a way for all of this uplift to include as many who want to be part of it, recognizing there are going to be some who don't. 300 million people in the country are never going to have uniformity on things, even things that seem to make the most common sense. But I think Trump is drawing them out. I think Trump is helping to expose the Democrats and liberalism in ways that have not been as effective before. And the way it's happening is their sheer hatred for him. They know nothing else. They can't, because of their opinion, they can't agree with him on anything. They can't join him on anything. Their fingerprints are not on any of the good things happening in America. And they can't afford for their fingerprints to be, because they think that would be hypocritical. So they're not forced into a constant position of opposition. And what are they opposing? They are opposing things that have revitalized the lives of millions of Americans. I mean, it's right where we want them. Here's a little piece from PJ Media. PJmedia.com. Fact check. Democrats claim Trump economy isn't working for the middle class. They're wrong. When Democrats were asked questions about the economy, one thing was clear. They want the public to believe the economy isn't doing well. How would you like to have that as your job today? To try to convince as many people as possible the economy is not doing well. That's the Democrat Party today. The Democrat Party is trying to convince the middle class that they are losing ground and falling behind, and that it's all the fault of Donald Trump. That the economy is doing great. No amount of denial can change that. 50-year historic low unemployment. Probably none of the claims they're making can be backed up anywhere. Do you know what gaslighting means? I've heard this term thrown around. And I've never been sure what it means. Do you know what? When somebody's gaslighting you, do you know? Well, let me tell you the best I have been able to ascertain. And there may be people who disagree with me on this. Because I have a lot of people who don't know what it means. People throw the term around. Its meaning is not self-evident. Gaslighting? When do you light gas? Gas stove? What, I don't get it. Gaslighting is, best I can tell, a tactic in which a person, in order to gain power, tries to make someone question what is undeniably real. Gaslighting is nothing other than an effort to make you believe that what you know is true isn't. And that, to me, was the Democrat debate last night. I think the entire Democrat debate, they were gaslighting us. They were asking us to believe that the economy is in a virtual recession, a virtual depression is on the horizon. They know nothing else. They tried to say the economy is destroying families, it's destroying transgenders, it's destroying illegals. They're an economic death cult. The Democrat Party is an economic death cult, and they're gaslighting everybody last night with how rotten things are, despite everything you're living and everything that you know. Here is David in Huntsville, Alabama. Great to have you, sir. I'm glad you waited. You're next on Open Line Friday. Hi.
Hi, Rush. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask a question I don't think anybody in the media has talked about, and I don't think the Democrats have really considered. Let's hypothetically say that Trump actually gets removed from office. That makes Mike Pence president. What kind of president do you think Mike Pence would make? And do you think the Democrats would actually try to impeach him too?
No, but that would be a calendar or clock thing. I think they're fully aware that Mike Pence would be president. I mean, you come on now. You have to. If they're trying to get rid of Trump, they know who's next, and it isn't Hillary.
Right.
It's going to be Mike Pence. I think. I'll just tell you point blank since you asked. I think they believe that Mike Pence is a big, fat zero. They think he's a big, boring dry ball. It'd be so easy to beat. They think they'll be able to attach Pence to Trump. And you might have a point. They might say, if we could have impeached him, we would have, because he was with Trump all the way. But I don't think, and I think they're so wrong about it. I think they're misjudging this as badly as they've misjudged everything. But they believe Pence would be easily beatable. And I think they're so delusional that nothing about this that is guiding them or propelling them makes any sense whatsoever. Now, I want to throw something else out you, since you have brought this up. If Trump is actually removed from office, I don't even think it will require that. Let me ask you this. If you wake up one day, sometime during the next year, and since you structured a hypothetical, let's create a really, really bad one. Let's say the Democrats win the White House in 2020. And you wake up one day and you learn that Chuck Schumer is demanding that every confirmed judicial appointee made by Donald Trump be taken down because he was illegitimate, because he was impeached. Do you think they're capable of that? You better believe they are. Not saying they could get it done. I'm saying do not be stunned if someday, and it may happen in January, they may throw this out depending on how this all goes. They may think they need to stoke wood on the fire to get it burning if they're losing ground. They may even try to rouse up their base by throwing something like that out. My only point is we haven't reached the end or even the limit of their efforts here to get rid of Trump or to render his entire presidency as illegitimate. I say that despite the obvious nature of the Democrats, I don't think enough people realize exactly what we are all up against today when opposing the American left or the Democrat Party. These are not just political battles. Look, these people are refusing to accept now when they lose elections. This is the beginning of something, not the end. They're not going to learn a lesson from this. These people are not interested in democracy. They're not interested in representative democracy or a republic. It is a problem. We are in a battle for the overall kind of country this is going to be. We're not in a battle over who is going to win every 4 years. We're not in a battle over who's going to be president, who's going to run the Senate, who's going to run the House. The battle we are in is virtually and literally about, will this remain the United States of America as founded? That is what is being waged here. And we're up against a party who is attempting to eliminate as much of and as many of the principles of our founding as they can. And they'll do it year by year. They'll do it election by election. They'll do it event by event. That's what we're up against. This is not just. This is why when I'm out and about and people, hey, Rush, you didn't get Democrat nominees. It just bores the hell out of it. It doesn't matter who their nominee is. Doesn't matter who their nominee. Their nominee is simply going to be a figurehead for the overall objective of finally ripping up the Constitution and redoing it in ways they want this country to be. Doesn't matter who their nominee is. Well, it does in terms of we're going to have an easier time beating it. That's not... Asking me who the nominee is does not tell me you understand what's at stake here. Same thing with the Republican nominee. This is a battle that is becoming more and more obvious as every day goes by. These people don't just have a political disagreement with Donald Trump. They're not just politically unhappy. They were on the way. 8 years of Obama, they were on the way to transforming this country. They had in their minds, they had convinced people to stop dreaming about an always improving country, an always improving economy. They had gotten people way on down the line. Stop thinking about traditional American values. Those are old-fashioned. They're racist. They're discriminatory. They're bigoted. They were on the way to turning upside down everything that has become the foundation of this country. And then Trump gets elected. And in 3 years, the progress that they made in their perception, the progress they made, has been brought to an utter screeching halt. And not just economically. They've been exposed for what they're trying to do. They don't come out and honestly say that this is their agenda. They still conduct business as though they're raising money, they're standing for office, they're running for election, they hope to win. That's not at all an apt description. All you got to do is take a look at any of their issues to find out what their objective. What is climate change really all about? It's not about climate change. It's about the power they would accrue if they were to ever prevail on the issue, as is everything else they claim to believe. Why do they want to wipe out the traditional definition of marriage? Why do they want to wipe out the traditional definition or morality of anything? I got to go. Just saw the clock. Back here in just a second.
The #1 talk radio personality of all time, Rush Limbaugh, on the EIB network. We now take you behind the scenes at Hillary for President. Late at night, the hotline rings through to Chappaqua. Let's listen in.
Hillary for president. What's the problem now?
Bill, it was that.
Oh, hi, Kaz.
Can you believe I got to trial?
Yeah, I heard you got to go to trial.
But it's consensual.
Oh, it was consensual. Well, I like your approach, but you need to use something stronger to make it more consensual. Me, I'm a lip biter myself. Harder for them to tell on you afterwards.
Well, they gotta pay the lawyer.
Yeah, trials are expensive.
Because you get the gig.
Sure, I can get you a speaking gig if you don't mind performing for a Chinese businessman who speaks no English.
But understand me.
He doesn't have to understand you, but you'll get paid, and then I want you to contribute half of the money to our charity foundation as a finder's fee.
But why half?
Because it will help rehabilitate your image. And after they started sniffing around Terry McAuliffe, we can't take any chances.
But half?
Yeah, you're right. Make it 90%. You need a lot of help with your image.
Join us next time our microphones take you behind the scenes at Hillary for President. Can a renegade sailor who's fed up with the way things are and a captain who's lost touch with reality both be the same man? Find out in the McCain Mutiny.
I'm not paranoid, but everybody thinks I am. Aha. What are you men whispering about? It's my legendary temper, isn't it? Isn't it?
No, sir. We're just wondering where we're going.
We're going to change the status quo. Meaningful campaign.
Aye, sir. But banning soft money is unconstitutional.
And that's why I'm taking it all the way to the Supreme Court.
But you'll lose.
You're catching on, kid. Hold your course. Left. 360. And best of all, the media will make me a hero. Again. Damn the Republicans. Full speed ahead.
The McCain Mutiny, starring Senator John McCain, the talented, versatile actor-director who brought you Citizen McCain, McCain's Navy, and the unforgettable Western classic, The Keating Five.
I don't need your money. Gee. Thanks anyhow.
The McCain Mutiny. Coming soon to a primary near you. That's too late.
Rush Limbaugh. And now we squeeze yet another exciting call. We never know what's lurking behind the blinking lights on the phone bank. Here is Mike in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Great to have you, sir. Hello.
Yes, sir, Rush. Pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah.
My feeling is nobody in Washington is going to get prosecuted on this entire affair because anybody that dares open their mouth is going to suffer the same fate that Epstein did, and he had $500 million to protect him. And if I was being guarded by the Secret Service, I wouldn't be too comfortable either.
Let me make sure I understand. The reason there will not be any prosecutions, you mean even by Barr and Durham?
Barr and Durham, my rear end. There's a smoke, and that's about it.
All right, well, we got some sound bites in Barr coming up. You may change your mind. But, you think there are never going to be any prosecutions because the people who might be prosecuted, put in jail, are going to get killed, and they will know they're going to get murdered. And so nobody wants to get killed, and nobody wants to be the killer, so nothing's going to happen.
That's right, and Epstein had $500 million behind him.
No, he had more than that. He had at least twice that.
And by the way, where are the tapes from his mansion and his Lolita Island down there? They mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know. And you're saying this because of who? Isn't it amazing that one guy has taken the fall for all of this? This poor hapless Prince Andrew guy. His mom cancels his 60th birthday party. And the Clintons, who are up to their underwear in this stuff, are just walking around breathing free and easy and not even concerned about it. I understand the way you're thinking.
Squeeze all this stuff in just 3 hours a day. Rush on the EIB network.
Limbaugh.
We are still locked and loaded, still jam-packed. We got lots of stuff to impart, to discuss, and lots of your phone calls standing by. The next hour, the EIB. It's not the last one because we're going to be here Monday. So not time to get depressed or panic yet.
Attention EIB affiliates. Stand by for the Rush Limbaugh promo feed. Copyright 2019. EIB Net. Start all recording devices in 3, 2, 1. Now.
Rush Limbaugh.
They're panicking big time on the left. They are panicking over Pelosi not sending the articles over to the Senate.
Rush Limbaugh.
We've got two polls out there. One's a CNN poll. The other is a YouGov poll. Trump is trouncing Democrats in both of these polls. CNN having an on-air meltdown over it today. They can't figure out why. We'll try to help them understand. They're panicking big time on the left. They are panicking over Pelosi not sending the articles over to the Senate.
Rush Limbaugh.
We've got two polls out there. One's a CNN poll, the other is a YouGov poll. Trump is trouncing Democrats in both of these polls. CNN having an on-air meltdown over it today. They can't figure out why. We'll try to help them understand. If they think Trump is mean and out of control now, wait until the day arrives where Trump feels liberated.
The Rush Limbaugh Week in Review.
Once they have pulled the political trigger on the biggest weapon they've got, and you're still standing, something I think they never, ever calculate. If they think Trump is mean and out of control now, wait until the day arrives where Trump feels liberated.
Rush Limbaugh.
Once they have pulled the political trigger on the biggest weapon they've got, and you're still standing, something I think they never, ever calculate.
Rush Limbaugh.
You know what the most fun in life is being right so much.
On the cutting edge.
Being dead on right, down the middle right so much.
And ahead of the pack.
That's what's fun.
America's most listened to talk radio program.
And then you add to the fun when you see how irritated a bunch of numbskulls get. Because you are right.
Rush Limbaugh.
Because I am right. Oh, yes.
This concludes the promo feed. Production directors everywhere. Be with us next time as we make your life easier on the EIB network. Do you ever experience headaches, perspiration, a strange burning sensation in your jaw, or persistent brain fog?
Yeah, brain fog.
Then you may be Wi-Fi sensitive or Wi-Fi intolerant. Dr. Jeffrey Frizzell, Associate Professor of Middle East Literature, recently said,
AM and FM radio waves obviously cancel each other out, but Wi-Fi waves are running wild through our bodies.
And what people are susceptible to Wi-Fi waves?
Of those who are on a gluten-free diet.
So gluten actually protects you from Wi-Fi?
Yes, absolutely.
Add gluten to your diet today and save yourself from the ravages of unwanted emails and internet searches traveling through your body. This message brought to you by the United Gluten Industry Council, the Friends of Gluten, and this station. We now take you behind the scenes at MSNBC as Chris Matthews has another off-mic moment about another woman.
Why did I sign up for this today? Can anyone, take camera 2 off her backside? That pantsuit doesn't hide a thing. She's shaped like a giant triangle, trying to reach out to the LGBTQRST community. If Melania Trump is the girl from Ipanema, Hillary's the butt from Brazil, Argentina, and Chile. Hey, run that clip of Melania Trump in my monitor so I won't throw up in my mouth. Pathetic. Just pathetic. She can't put Sanders away, and it's May already. Come on. You're live in 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Chris Matthews, and you're watching another fascinating town hall with Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Join us next time our microphones take you behind the scenes at MSNBC. Want to stop Donald Trump and be a hero to everyone in the Never Trump and progressive movement? Then why not become a whistleblower? By telling Congress everything you think you heard or sort of knew about Donald Trump. Until recently, a government whistleblower was required to have direct first-hand knowledge of any alleged misdeed. But since we couldn't get the goods on Donald in 3 years, we have to expand the universe of available dirt. Now, any rumor about Trump you've heard at work, in line at the liquor store, on Twitter, the internet, even from a friend of a friend who knows a guy, it's fair game. Just ask Nancy Pelosi.
America, It is your civil duty to help us win the White House from Trump and the Russians in 2020 by becoming a whistleblower. Heaven knows we can't get there any other way. That Joe, such a lunch buckethead.
Be the envy of all your friends and fellow travelers. Become a whistleblower today. Caution, mainstream media sources of information may be a little too out there to be considered credible.
Rush Limbaugh.
So this is funny. CNN's found an impeachment law scholar at Tulane. An impeachment law scholar. Something that's only happened 4 times. There is impeachment law scholar at Tulane. Anyway, they went and found this guy. His name is Ross Garber. To talk them all off the ledge. This guy's saying, well, Professor Feldman may not be right. It may not be correct to say that Trump has not been impeached until a trial starts, until the articles are delivered over there.
And now,
because
from
believe
sunny
me,
South
folks,
Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
When Noah Feldman published that piece, he wrote a column at Bloomberg News saying, hey, he doesn't like the fact that Pelosi is not sending the articles over to the House. He writes a piece saying this means that Trump has not been impeached yet. Trump can run around and say, I haven't been impeached. Noah Feldman panicking. Thinks Pelosi is engaging in a bad strategy here. Feldman thinks that because he is one of the witnesses, Trump is going down. Because he testified Trump is guilty. So the drive-by media today has been very, very alarmed at this. Oh, my God, because they've been reporting all day long that Trump has been impeached. All day yesterday, all last night, and Feldman comes. So they went and found a guy. No, it doesn't quite mean that. Professor Feldman is correct that the Senate is now in total charge, but it may not necessarily mean so. They're all breathing big sighs of relief because they desperately need to be able to say that Trump has been impeached because it's all about the blemish. It's all about the asterisk. It's all about the black mark. Greetings. Great to have you. Final hour. Open Line Friday. Let me read you a headline. This is from ABC News. Iowa man who tore down and burned an LGBTQ flag is imprisoned. A man. Stories out of Nevada, Iowa. A man has been sentenced to more than 15 years in prison for burning an LGBTQ flag that was flying at a church in central Iowa. His name is Adolfo Martinez. He's 30, lives in Ames, Iowa. He was sentenced 2 days ago to 15 years for the hate crime of arson, as well as a year for the reckless use of explosives or fire, and 30 days for harassment. The sentences are to be served consecutively, according to the court. A jury convicted Adolfo Martinez in November. He was arrested last June. Martinez said he tore down the LGBTQ flag that had been hanging from the United Church of Christ in Ames and burned it because he opposes homosexuality. This is a classic illustration of what's wrong with hate crimes. This same guy, this same guy could burn an American flag, and he would be feted as a hero. He could take down an American flag, and he could burn it, and we would go to court. The left would go to court to have his civil right to protest his country protected. He would be a hero, and not a single thing would happen to him. This guy could sneak into Mar-a-Lago. He could rip down the Trump family flag. He could light it on fire. And all that would happen, if anything, is maybe a little jail time for arson. But he would still be feted as a hero. And his bravery would be heralded. His courage for speaking truth to power would be plastered all over every news network there is out there for taking down a Trump flag and burning it. But because it is a flag attached to homosexuality, the LGBTQ movement, 15 years. I don't care, folks. That is not justice. This is social justice. And this is exactly the kind of thing I was just talking about in the battle that we are in with the left. It's not what everybody thinks, Republicans versus Democrats, for who gets to have power for 4 years in the White House. Because the Democrats have gotten to the point now where they refuse to accept elections that they lose, and they begin immediately to try to redo them and undo them. They did it in 2000 with George W. Bush, the Florida recount. We saw how that administration was treated throughout its 2 terms. And with Trump, Trump has been illegitimate since even before he was elected. So the battle we are in is not Democrat versus Republican. It's America versus anti-America. It's American founding versus people who wish to transform America to something it has not been founded to be. Anytime you have to put a modifier in front of justice, you can wave goodbye to justice. There's no social justice. Gender justice. What is all this? Cisgender, binary gender. There's 2 genders. There's male and female. No, not anymore. And if you don't agree with it, you represent an existential threat. And if you act on it, we might be able to put you in jail for 15 years like this guy. Burn an American flag, you are a hero to the same people who put this guy in jail for 15 years. Thought crime violations. Everybody, when they hear about this, ought to be outraged over it. But the radical leftist of every stripe, the maniacs, the social justice warriors, have everybody buffaloed and frightened. So 15 years for ripping down a flag and burning it because of the hate. Because of the hate, even though he admitted it. Well, so you do a crime, and then you add the fact that there might have been some hate behind it, we make it even more punishable. So the audio sound bites. Here is Mitch McConnell. I mentioned he had a great line about the accusation from Pelosi that she's the one that has all the leverage now because she's refusing to send the articles over to the Senate. This is last night on the Senate floor. 2 sound bites from the turtle. Here's the first one.
We remain at an impasse because my friend, the Democratic leader, continues to demand a new and different set of rules for President Trump. My colleague wants a special pretrial guarantee of certain witnesses whom the House Democrats themselves did not bother to pursue as they assemble their case.
And I'm here to tell you she has, well, I say she has no right. She can demand all she wants. She has nothing to say about what happens in the Senate. Constitutionally, she's got nothing to say. But you see, the Constitution limits don't stop her. They're not stopping her. Talk about respect for the rule of law, respect for constitutional duty, constitutional limitation. I don't have any. She is attempting to bully and brute force with the rest of the Democrat Party to force the turtle into conducting a further investigation with witnesses that she didn't bother to call. She didn't bother to call them because the president wasn't going to let them come up and testify. He went to court to stop it. They want to impeach him for that, calling it obstruction of Congress. And now she wants the turtle to call these witnesses so the investigation can go on. The turtle said, we don't investigate here. You do that. You bring us the case. And we'll either dismiss it or we'll sit in judgment of it and whatever. But you don't get to tell us what. We're the jury. The jury doesn't do investigations. Here's soundbite number 2 from the turtle. This is the one that has the great line in it.
House Democrats imply they're withholding the articles for some kind of leverage so they can dictate the Senate process to senators. I admit, I'm not sure what leverage there is in refraining from sending us something we do not want. Meanwhile, other House Democrats seem to be suggesting they'd prefer never to transmit the articles. Fine with me.
This is great. The turtle's on fire. For the turtle, I'm not sure what leverage there is in refraining from sending us something we do not want. We don't want your stinking articles. We don't want anything to do with this because it's not legitimate. Meanwhile, other House Democrats seem to be suggesting they'd prefer never to transmit the article. And there are some of those. Folks, it all boils down to that. I don't know if there is anybody saying the reasonable members of the left know that this is going to lead to an acquittal, which is the absolute last thing that they want. In an election year, for it to be recorded as a matter of constitutional congressional law that the president was found not guilty. Doesn't matter, Rush. They'd still be able to say he's impeached. Nah, I'm telling you the reason she's not sending these articles over there is because she knows she doesn't have a case. Now, I just saw on CNN pencil neck kind of guy named Brad Sherman. He's also from California. Have you noticed, by the way, speaking of elitism and all that, whenever the Democrat leadership gathers on TV, like when Schiff and Nadler and Pelosi and all the people on these committees gathered, did you know what? They're all from either California or New York. None of them are from the middle of the country. They're all California. They're all radical coastal elites. The House leadership. And yet they tell us that their party is the home of diversity. Now, there's a news report out. The New York Times is reporting that according to a person briefed on the inquiry, U.S. Attorney John Durham, who's leading the investigation into how the Trump-Russia thing started, has requested John Brennan's communication records, including emails, call logs, and other documents from the CIA. Brennan's the former CIA director who led, at least visibly, led the entire coup to overturn Trump's election. So Durham wants his phone records, has asked the CIA for all of his communications records. Durham's team said to be scrutinizing prior testimony given by Brennan. Now, according to the New York Times, Durham wants to learn what Brennan told other officials, including James Comey, about his and the CIA's views of the dossier and other assertions about Trump and Russia, which means he wants to find out who all was lying here, who told who what. He's looking for evidence that Comey and Brennan have been lying. Durham is trying to determine if Brennan privately contradicted his public comments. meaning he's heard. He wouldn't be looking for this if he hadn't gotten some indication. Brennan and Comey out publicly saying X, Y, and Z. Trump's rotten, Trump's a SOB, Trump's this, Trump colluded with Russia. We've got 4 or 5 secret witnesses. We know this. He wants call records. He wants to hear what they were saying to themselves during all of this. He wants to find evidence of how they were strategizing to pull all this off. And my guess is he wants it because he knows it happened. There are going to be leakers. They're going to be, before this is all over, people that flip. Somebody somewhere is going to determine they don't want to go to jail to protect James Comey. Somebody in this chain is going to decide they don't want to go to jail to protect Brennan. Now, this source also said that Durham has been examining the roles of the agencies which contributed to the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment. This is the January 5th meeting, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, with Trump. January 6th. It was January 5th they got together to conspire with Obama. January 6th they had the meeting. They presented Trump with evidence in the dossier about the P-tape. And so Durham has been examining the roles of all the intelligence agencies who put that assessment for Comey to present to Trump together. That would include the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA. The report concludes the Russians had meddled in the 2016 election and aspired to help Trump win the race. And Durham wants to find out who the hell asserted that. Who said that? Who included that? What's the evidence for it? Because there isn't any. It didn't happen. He wants to get to the bottom of who started this mess. And he's asked the CIA for Brennan's records. I don't know if he's going to have any good fortune in coming up with those. Now, Bill Barr was on Fox last night. Had some fascinating things to say about all this. Got to take a brief time out. We'll get to that when we get back.
This Christmas, give a gift that delivers truth, justice, and the American way all year long. Give the Limbaugh Letter, America's #1 political newsletter from America's #1 truth detector, Rush Limbaugh. Order your gift subscriptions right now at rushlimbaugh.com. You're listening to the EIB Network.
Rush Limbaugh.
I got to the Bill Barr sound bites from last night on Fox in the next half hour. I want to get some more phone action in here. To Salt Lake City we go next. Dave, hello, sir. Great to have you with us on Open Line Friday. Hello.
Hello, Rush. Very long listener, over 30 years.
Thank you.
I wanted to get to the Open Line Friday question, get you off this stuff. What did you think about the way the President Cup treated Patrick Reed? How NBC and the Golf Channel acted like he was a pariah because he's called Captain America, and Tiger Woods kept him in there because he knew it bothered him, and they won the tournament. I want your total take on this because I know that it made you mad and it made me mad.
Well, how do you know that it made me mad? I ask that only because I haven't discussed it, so I'm curious how you know it made me mad.
Because you're a golf, you love golf, and I don't see why. Why would you root for another country? I mean, Golf Channel and NBC was actually saying,
well,
3 days into this, right?
Look, who are we talking about here? We're talking about who? The media. I don't care if it's sports. I don't care if it's news. I don't care if it's the laundromat media. It's the media.
Yes, Rush. That's what I'm saying. It's NBC and the Golf Channel, which is the same thing.
Yeah, but
against the guy. Now, listen, Rush. You know this. The guy's name is Captain America.
Yeah.
And they're against the guy. His caddy had to jump off the car and he got thrown out of the whole thing. They're threatening his wife.
Yeah, but there's look. People do not know. There haven't been. I guarantee you, people don't know the prelude to this. And even if they know what you're talking about, they may not know what led up to it. The week prior to the President's Cup, which is over in Australia, Tiger Woods was a playing captain. He chose Reed. There was a tournament in the Bahamas, and Reed was alleged to have cheated by improving his lie in a waste bunker. He had taken the club and he had cleared out some sand in the waste bunker to improve his lie. That meant that as far as they were concerned, that Patrick Reed was a cheater. Patrick Reed was destroying and sullying the great traditions of the game. So that's the starting point for it. Reed was constantly heckled by the crowd over that issue that happened in the Bahamas. Now, hang on, we'll have to continue this after the break.
For most people, the funeral of a loved one is to be attended with dignity and respect. But not for these guys. Jimmy Carter, Ted Kennedy, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and the Reverend Lowry are the Funeral Crashers.
Hello? Oh, well, I'm sorry for your loss. So I guess you'd like for me to say a few words then? Okay, I'll be there.
Guys, you are never gonna believe who kicked the bucket. Jimmy, wake Ted up. This is gonna be the biggest funeral of the year.
Unable to draw a crowd on their own, they seek out any funeral they can to promote their agenda. What better time to bash Bush?
We know now there were no weapons of mass destruction over that.
Secret government wiretapping.
Or attempt to clean up the family image.
I had the honor of working with her on the landmark legislation to make the birthday of her husband a national holiday.
Even run for president.
Leadership is something that many who are called refuse to accept.
And if there's enough time left, they might even mention the deceased.
I don't want us to forget that there's a woman in there.
Oh, no. I can't remember her name. Maybe nobody will notice.
6 hours later, and they're just getting started.
Lot was unbelievable.
Yeah, we're on a roll. Hey, let's look in the obits.
The Funeral Crashers, coming to a memorial service near you.
Come on, boys. There's votes in them caskets.
Don't let your perceived ethnicity box you in. Experience a new satisfying social construct with world-famous identity coach, Rachel Dolezal.
Got no rhythm? Can't dance? Or just want some affirmative action going on to help you get and keep a job? Me, my tanning bed, and an awesome home perm will help you self-identify your way to success.
This former Spokane chapter president of the National Association for the Advancement of Confused People will help you carry forward on your life continuum and make that happen.
I can do Puerto Rican, Native American, Mexican, but I don't do Asian.
Get down with the struggle on a new, real, connected level of personal empowerment and self-identification with Rachel Dolezal. Live at the Bombay Inn Executive Meeting Room every Thursday night at 8. Now, something new yet familiar to everyone. It's Ron Artest.
Hey, yo, fool. Stop with the old school rap and bust it with the now. You gotta do representing for me, Ron Artest.
Word up to all peeps. Some fresh tracks been laying down.
What up? This Ron Artest, busting out with the soft with some old school oldies with a fresh twist. Ain't no suspension long enough. There ain't no fines that are big enough. Ain't no jail term long enough to keep me from beating on you.
And I really mean hits.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Gonna find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. You better not be dissing me, yo.
Spreading the love.
Peeps all over the world, join hands, make a love train or I'll beat your brain.
True warrior even does Streisand.
Peeps who breed other peeps are the happiest peeps in the world.
Ron Artest does the oldies with a fresh twist and a clenched fist.
He's a jolly good felon, and I'm a jolly good felon. We're all jolly good felons, and if you don't agree, you'll die.
Getting real.
Baby, 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 where did my pay go? Endorsements done left me now. I need me a new loan, you know?
Ron Artest, oldies with a fresh twist. From Concussion Records.
Yeah, we put the con back in concussion.
Available at NBA games and bail bondsmen everywhere.
True that.
Rush Limbaugh.
Hi, welcome back. Open Line Friday. Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network. So Patrick Reed, who is, he got his nickname Captain America from the Ryder's Cup. And he's a very popular player. He's very infectious, but he's a renegade in the sense that he's a nonconformist. He's not, he doesn't flout the rules. He's not, he doesn't flout dress codes or any of that. He's just a free spirit. And he's not afraid to buck convention. He's not afraid to stand out. And the two-stroke penalty he got in the Bahamas the week before the President's Cup for improving his lie, it used to be if you were in a waste bunker, you could improve your lie. I remember watching, I think it was a TPC at Sawgrass. It was either Phil Mickelson or Davis Love improved their lie in a waste bunker right there on TV. Everybody saw him doing it. It wasn't a problem at all. TV comments, can you do that? And people looked it up, and there wasn't any rule against it. I guess there is now. So Reed was being heckled. And at one point, I think on Saturday, Friday or Saturday, somebody in the gallery got very, very close to him and started shouting obscenities. And Reed's caddy, his brother-in-law, got physical with the fan, pushed him away. So you don't talk to my guy like that. Reed had to get rid of the caddy. Caddy, you're not allowed to touch the fans. You're not allowed to do any of that. So Reed got rid of the caddy, had a new caddy on the bag for the final day, and was a factor in U.S. winning and so forth. Everybody that I know that knows Patrick Reed loves him. So I've never met him, but everybody I know that does know him thinks he's a great guy. Would love to have him on the team in such a competition circumstance. It's just a fun guy to be around anyway. But the basic problem is that he's not a conformist. We live in a world now. That's what's Trump's biggest. He's not a conformist. He doesn't behave like the establishment demands. He doesn't talk. He doesn't wear wingtip shoes like the establishment demands. You know, if you wear loafers in the State Department, they could throw you out. There's a uniform. You learn it at Harvard. Kind of shoes you wear, the kind of laces, you know, which direction the stripes on your tie go says everything about your pedigree. But only if you're laughing in there, but I'm not kidding. You can be laughed out of Harvard if you're wearing stripes that go the wrong way on a tie. If you happen to be in the State Department where stripes that go the wrong way on your tie, they start snickering at you. Well, Reed probably wouldn't wear the tie. So he'd get double snickered. Now, here's the Bill Barr sound bites. He was on the Fox News channel last night. And the question, we really learned about a lot about the FISA abuse situation with the Horowitz report, the Inspector General. Do you believe that Durham's investigation is broader scoped in terms of the intelligence agencies that are being looked at?
Oh, yes. He's not just looking at the FBI. He's looking at other agencies and also private and departments and also private actors. And so it's a much broader investigation. And also, he's not just looking at the FISA aspect of it. He is looking at all the conduct, both before and after the election.
So would that include the CIA, NSA?
It would include agencies that could have been involved in this.
Well, that would definitely be the CIA. That's Brennan. We already know from the New York Times. We already know from the New York Times. We don't know diddly squat if it's in the New York Times. Anyway, we know that Durham's looking at the CIA. We know he wants communications records of Brennan. I would so love this guy to get called out for his role in this, Brennan. I think he's one of these guys on TV constantly. You go back and look at what these people were saying. Trump is going down. Trump ought to resign. Trump ought to be ashamed. Trump is an embarrassment to the morality of our country and the intelligence community. This guy was just filled with vitriol about Trump, and it was all lies, uttering all these predictions. Trump's going down. Trump's finished. He just doesn't know about it. Comey was doing the same rot gut stuff. Man, oh man, I would love to see these guys called out. And don't forget, we had this caller who doesn't think any of this is going to happen. Because before any of these people could actually testify, they'll be murdered, like Epstein was. That's his theory. He thinks we're never going to learn diddly squat about this. I remain confident that this investigation is going to hit pay dirt and that we're going to find out. I don't know about punishments. But look. There's a grand jury, and a grand jury means one thing, indictments. That's why you impanel them. Yeah, a prosecutor can indict without one, can level charges without one, but a grand jury, much better way of doing it. Considered to be nonpartisan, of course. Considered to be evidentiary. And there's only one reason you impanel a grand jury, that is to hear evidence for the eventual handing down of indictments, and I think there will be. Now, what punishment, if any, there will be? Who knows? Here's the next bite. The question, are you surprised that James Comey is so convinced that all of this was very above board? He came out and said there was no treason, there was no spying on Trump. None of this that Trump thinks happened to him, none of it happened. Does Comey saying all that stuff surprise you?
The IG report and the recent letter from the FISA court, I think, pulls the rug out from under that analysis. And one of the things that I object to is the tack being taken by Comey, which is to suggest that people who are criticizing or trying to get to the bottom of the misconduct are somehow attacking the FBI. I think that's nonsense.
Were you surprised that he seemed to give himself such distance from the entire operation? Do you believe that?
No. They pulled the investigation up to the executive floors, and it was run and bird-dogged by a very small group of very high-level officials. And the idea that this was 7 layers below him is simply not true.
All right, now, if Barr is willing to say all of that before the investigation's even over with, then, folks, they know a lot, and this is big, I think. It was run and bird-dogged by a very small group of very high-level officials. The idea this was 7 layers below Comey and he wasn't really aware of it all, simply not true. Small group, very high-level officials. This group is so small and very high level that it has to reach into the Oval Office. Now, he didn't say that. I don't want anybody to call him up and say that that's what I say he said. But These people doing what they were doing would not have been doing it without Obama being aware of it. And, of course, I think Obama was not just aware of it, but actively involved in it. But I do think he has plausible deniability. I think if they're willing to say all this, that they're much further along, and Barr knows what happened. They're just putting it all together now. Remember, they are taking on a very powerful cabal here. I mentioned this must be 2 weeks ago now. This is a very, very big thing that Barr and Durham are doing. And they're going to have to make sure that every T is crossed, every I dotted, to use the cliche. Because they're taking a shot at some of the most powerful people in the world. And it's not Comey and it's not Brennan. It's the people running them. It's the people they report to. And you don't know their names, and I don't know their names. But that's who they're gunning for here. Now, these may be the fall guys before this is all said and done. But this is a huge, you want to talk about bravery and courage, what Barr and Durham are doing here is a big, big deal. They're not just going for some temporary FBI director and a temporary CIA director and this or that. They're going to get as high to the top of this as they can. Otherwise, there's no reason to do it. And if they succeed and expose this, it is going to be earth-shattering. I'll guarantee you the people that are being gunned for in this investigation are still, at this moment, cock certain nothing is going to happen to them. They are that powerful and in that much control of things. So don't give up on this. This is bigger than you can possibly imagine, riskier than you can possibly imagine. Brief timeout, back with more in a moment.
Listen to what the left doesn't want you to hear. Rush on the EIB Network. Want to lead an environmentally friendly lifestyle, but your SUV and powerboat get in the way? Introducing the EIB Carbon Credit Card. With the EIB Carbon Credit Card, for every dollar you spend on yourself, an equal amount is spent on holistic carbon set-off projects, like planting trees along the border with Mexico, to reforest the Southwest, and create an impassable barrier.
We're lost, amigos. Let's go home.
You could be part of creating kelp farms in the ocean, teaching dolphins to feed penguins, harnessing the rays of the sun to power a windmill. And best of all, the EIB Carbon Credit Card isn't just for people like you. It's also great for governments, too. Go ahead. Buy a half decaf cafe latte and comfort a whale. Buy a sweater and send life-saving ice to a polar bear cub. Or send up the space shuttle and reforest New Mexico. You can save the Earth with the new EIB Carbon Credit Card.
Rush Limbaugh. Let me give you an example of John Brennan outright lying. John Brennan was accusing Trump of treason all during this. He was calling him a Russian agent. Do we forget these things? He was calling him a Russian agent. He was saying that he suspects that Trump is being run by Putin. I think that was the lingo. So back on May 23rd of 2017, during a House Intelligence Committee hearing, Trey Gowdy is talking to Brennan, CIA director for Obama, about Russian interference, and the Steele dossier came up.
Do you know if the Bureau ever relied on the Steele dossier as part of any court filings, applications, petitions, pleadings?
I have no awareness.
Did the CIA rely on it?
No.
Why not?
Because we didn't. It wasn't part of the corpus of intelligence information that we had. It was not in any way used as a basis for the intelligence community assessment that was done. It was...
It's a flat-out lie. It's a flat-out lie. The dossier was all they had, and the dossier was used in the intelligence assessment presented to Trump on January 6th that Brennan was a part of. He's lying under oath to the House Intelligence Committee right here. Now, I want to see the 6 a.m. raid at his house. Like they did to Manafort, like they did to Roger Stone. Let's see the 6 a.m. raid to his house to get his computers and all the other stuff. He lied through his teeth, and so did Comey. This is not incidental, meaningless stuff. These are the people that ran this bogus operation. These are the people with the energy, intellectual and otherwise, behind it. These are the people lying to the New York Times and CNN. And the New York Times and CNN were happy to accept the lies. They didn't care. One more quick one. Jane Fonda, here is her plan to get Trump to believe in climate change.
I hatched a plan because I kind of know men like Trump, only not as bad, but you know, I sort of know those inclinations, and I thought, I'm going to get 3 or 4 of the most beautiful, voluptuous, brilliant climate activists. Pamela Anderson is one of them, and a few scientists, and I'm going to make an appointment, and we're all going to see Trump, and we're going to get on our knees. No. And we're going to say to him, President Trump, you can be the hero of the entire world.
All right, so she's going to get a bunch of floozies in there and voluptuous whatever and try to get Trump to change his mind on climate change. Getting on their knees. Has she forgotten who Trump is married to? I don't think she could find anybody that would even make a dent. Anyway, that's the intellectual corpus, as Brennan says, on the left. Mount Vernon, Ohio. Cindy, great to have you on Open Line Friday. Hello.
Rush, it's a delight to talk to you. I've tried so often to get through to you. Thank you for taking my call today.
You bet.
I have a couple of comments, Rush. I am so proud of you and so glad that you are the voice of truth. I listen to you. I'm glued to the radio every day. You have the same values as my mother and father had. These people in Washington are, I don't know, they're living in outer space. They're out of their minds, and they really are crazy. because they believe everything they have said. And when you look at their faces, you can see the insane hate and rage in their faces that they don't even know they're showing. And unlike the caller previously, I do believe, along with you, that this is going to come out. And when it comes out, there is going to be such a cry of freedom in this country like we've never heard. And one last thing I wanted to say, I'm so proud of our president for standing up for us. And the first year in his election, it was the first time I went to a store at Christmas and people started saying Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays, have a nice holiday or whatever. And I'm nervous. I know you can tell that. But I'm just so indebted to you. And then,
you're very kind. But that's part of the corpus that is being remade here. Merry Christmas. Just traditional American values. America first. Make America great again. Nothing threatening about it. America being great can only mean wonderful things for everybody. The left even tries to mischaracterize what Make America Great means. They think it's a return to slavery. I'm not making that. That's what they think it means.
In Rush, for 8 years, I did not vote for Barack Hussein Mohammed Obama. I detested the man and his policies, but I didn't complain because he was elected. However, after 8 years of being called a racist, when I am not a racist, never was, wasn't raised that way, being called a homophobe, being called a bigot. You know, you are what you eat and what you read and ingest. Naturally, you start to think.
How they try to silence you. That's how they try to frustrate. They want you tuning out. They want you forgetting about things. They want you to cease being in the opposition. Well, it's very nice of you. I appreciate all of that. I'm glad you're out there. I wish I had more time to delve into some of these matters more with you, but I don't. I'm up against what's called in the inside baseball business of broadcasting a hard break.
The center of the radio universe. Rush on the EIB network.
Rush Limbaugh.
Breaking news. Investigation finds no racist intent behind those OK hand signals at the Army-Navy game last Saturday. Remember that? Those OK hand was white supremacists being signaled. No, it wasn't. Investigation found there was no such thing. Duh. Idiots. See you Monday, folks.